Shaun Greenhalgh was once a prolific forger. From ancient carvings to modern paintings, there was nothing he couldn't make.
A bit like putting in an old window.
But a spell in prison convinced him to renounce his past. So he's teamed up with Oxford historian Dr. Janina Ramirez
Oh my gosh!
to rediscover the secrets of the ancients and to try to match their skills. As for me, I'm Waldemar Januszczak, and my job is to keep tabs on them. The Ashmolean Museum in Oxford has one of the world's great collections of ancient art.
Oh, my favourite gallery, Shaun.
It's a museum full of treasures, and Janina has brought Shaun here to see some of them.
Stunning glittering pieces in here. But really beautiful. Caught my eye here. These gold and garnet birds. They're absolutely exquisite, aren't they?
Spectacular, aren't they?
Yeah, there are some wonderful pieces here.
Yeah, there are.
Bird or eagle brooches were the most spectacular jewellery of the Dark Ages. And the most spectacular of all were made by the Visigoths.
Cloisonné eagles. Even in this one cabinet, you can see how popular this imagery of the hook-beaked bird is. You've got a pair there and another pair right next to it.
Yes, very popular.
Yeah, and they must have been fashionable. This was a sort of symbolism.
Yeah, I think it's kind of combination of the old idea of the Roman eagle and the raven on the battlefield in the Dark Ages.
Yeah. So popular, fashionable,
Yeah.
and such exquisite artistic skill.
Absolutely, yeah, they're really, really finely made.
It's incredible to think these things were made with no artificial light, no running water.
Supposedly no magnification.
Right. It's going to be a challenge for you, isn't it?
Well, it is, yes. It's probably one of the hardest things I've made. I've only made one before, and very difficult, time-consuming, but...
So you're anxious about this one?
A little bit, yes. I'll get it done, though.
Oh, gosh, this is the one I'm most excited about seeing.
This is the most work, too.
Excellent. Right, looking forward to it.
OK.
The next morning in Oxford, Janina sets off to delve deeper into the Visigoths. Their story's full of twists and turns, so there's a lot to keep up with.
Visigoths. They are a group of people that are part of this broader set known as the Goths, who moved all the way across Western Europe, largely during this period known as the migration period. As the Empire of Rome was starting to crumble, it meant that there were territories where these what the Romans referred to as barbarian tribes were able to claim land, claim power, and establish themselves. And the heartland, really, for the Goths is the Germanic territories. But with the decline of the Roman Empire, they took advantage of the power vacuum and began to move southwards, and then eventually spread down into Spain. And that's where they make their real homeland.
Back in his own homeland of Lancashire, Shaun Greenhalgh has come to the Owl and Bird of Prey Sanctuary in Turbury Woods. He's met by John the Ranger,
Hi, John. Hi, Shaun. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
who introduces him to the residents.
Yeah, let me show you around.
Thank you.
Here we have our snowy owl. His name's Bruce.
Hello, Bruce.
He's been with us for quite some time. He's one of the oldest birds that we've found before I was.
Right. He looks an old guy, doesn't he?
Yeah. This is Edgar, our raven, named after the Edgar Allan Poe poem.
Right, the battle hawk.
Yeah. Beautiful coloured feathers there.
Yes.
But the bird Shaun really wants to see is Stella the steppe eagle. She's the kind of bird the Visigoths would have hunted with. So Shaun is keen to take a good look at her.
OK, Shaun, so this is Stella.
Yeah. Hello, Stella.
She's a steppe eagle.
Right.
As you can see, she's very noisy.
Yeah, how old is she now?
She's about 8 years old. And these steppe eagles, their range is from obviously all the stands, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, right up to China.
can see why the Dark Age people were impressed with them, can't you?
Yeah.
The elegance and the majesty of them. The king of birds, really.
Who is that? Hey, who's that?
A stranger, my Baldwin, yeah? Well, I'm doing a Visigothic eagle brooch, actually.
Oh.
The golden garnet ones from the 5th and 6th century. And I think these would inspire the guys to wear them, the kings and the manufacturers of them, especially. Yes.
Okay. So if you just put your arm out like that, open your hand up.
Transfer backwards.
She'll step back. It's okay, just open the thumb up. Grab the jetties. Just open the thumb up. That's it. So you keep some of those nice and tight.
There you go. There you go, Stella. New master. Well, not a master, a servant. That's more it, isn't it? We're the servants, the birds are the masters. What a magnificent creature. Wow, you're something, aren't you? Hey, Stella? I'm going to make an eagle brooch after you. Name it after you as well. Yeah, I think you like that, don't you? A Visigothic eagle brooch. Stella the eagle brooch. Yeah.
Shaun's workshop is in a converted mill in Bolton. And the next morning, he gets there bright and early to draw up his plans for his eagle brooch.
And that's what I'm hoping to make. It's a Visigothic eagle brooch, 6th century, silver gilt with garnets, amethysts, blue and green glass as the Visigoths used. So the first thing is to make the casting for the actual metal brooch, the eagle with the pin on the back. You can get failings in casting there. Then we have to make the actual structure within, the cell structure within. That has to be soldered together. Now you can get a failing in soldering if you get the temperature too high. Part of it will collapse because it's very, very thin. It's only 0.5 millimetre thickness, the sheets, the silver, so that could be a problem. And then the last one that can be the greatest problem is the cutting of the stones. They have to be sliced very thinly. And then they have to be cut to exact shape because there's no adhesive used in this. It's all just held in by tension, one stone pressing on another.
With the design done, the next task is to get the stones for it, starting with the garnets.
I used to go to a place called Manchester Minerals when I was a lad. Could buy them online at Stockport, but now it's all online. I need cabochon garnets. Obviously the Visigoths ones have gone online to buy theirs, but so I'll have to order these 10 by 8s, £2.32 if you buy more than 2. I'm definitely going to need more than 2. Right, now we're looking for amethysts. Amethyst, here we are. Click on that.
For the silver, Shaun's going to do what the Visigoths did and use melted coins.
Some silver bars. Silver Britannias, what page are they?
The Visigoths preferred Roman silver, but Shaun's gone for American.
Ah, here we are. Yankee dollars, £24. That's not a bad price, actually.
A few days later, Janina comes up to Bolton to see how Shaun's doing.
Hi, Shaun. Lovely to be at your home.
The garnets have arrived,
Here we are.
and she's keen to see the design.
My favourite thing, bird symbols. Wow. I love this. Obviously much bigger than it's actually going to be.
Absolutely, yes. Probably be about the size of the tail, if that.
Oh.
The actual thing, but I've exploded it so we can see it clearly.
That's gorgeous. What have you got in terms of the different gems then?
Well, the garnets have come. You can see them there. They have to be sliced and cut to size.
So you're going to be working with these tiny little pieces?
They'll be tiny when we're finished.
Are they going to get flattened down then?
Yes. Then we have to cut them to fit the actual cells.
Right.
This will be silver gilt, the board. The yellow part will be silver gilt, you can see. These are amethysts used by the Visigoths. They used a lot of amethysts in the work. And these parts are glass, green glass and blue glass. Probably reused Roman glass.
Of course, that's what
Sliced
they
and
would have
polished.
used.
Of course they would, yes.
So you're going to get hold of some?
Yes. Maybe not Roman glass, but glass.
My goodness.
In his workshop the next day, Shaun starts shaping the precious stones, flattening and polishing the garnets and the amethysts.
Sometimes they polish really well, but other times you can just get an awkward stone that just doesn't want to play.
The polished garnets are looking darker than he wanted,
A little impurity in it.
but they're the only ones he can get.
Polish them up as well as it should. Right, now I've ground them down to flat, so now I have to polish them on the cerium oxide with a leather mop. The first thing to do is put this on, because with the water splashing is okay, but with the cerium oxide, it makes a real mess. So we'll put this on as a collar to catch the sprays it's whizzing out. This is a cerium oxide mixed with water. Well, cerium oxide is a mineral used in lapidary. It goes down to about 1 or 2 microns, so it's very, very fine polish. Standard in the jewellery trade to use it. We're to spoon some of that on, and this is going to fly. We'll spread it out a little bit so we don't all get a bit of it. And then we'll flick it on now. Get it up to speed. This does grab a little bit, so it might pull at it, but we'll give it our best shot. And there we have a satin finish. Let's take off the glue. The best way to take off with your teeth, you don't scratch the surface of the stone. Right, there we have it, the finished stone.
Downstairs at the mill, there's been another delivery.
Right, the silver dollars have arrived, so we'll have a look at those.
Shaun's using American dollars because the silver in them is 99% pure. And now that the dollars are in, he's ready to start his eagle brooch. The first task is to make a bird-shaped body for the brooch. It's going to be cast in silver, but he starts by making a wax model out of humble beeswax.
Find a local beekeeper, they'll always let you have a few pound of beeswax.
With the eagle shape done, Shaun needs to work out how to get the silver into the mould. So he constructs an elaborate system of wax pipes. Runners for the silver to go in, risers for the hot air to go out.
The Visigoths would have used beeswax just in this same manner. It's a very ancient technique called the lost wax process.
With the wax model done, Shaun builds himself a case for the mould out of strips of steel from his local hardware shop.
Measure twice, cut once.
When that's done, he fills the case with plaster and inserts his wax model. When he puts it in the kiln, the plaster will bake hard. The wax will melt out, and he'll have a mould for his Visigoth brooch.
Right, we're going to melt the silver now, the coins into the furnace, and then get the mould out and pour the lost wax casting. Put them in one at a time. Right. Right, ready to go? Oh, the whole thing's broken to pieces. Damn it, we'll just put the lid down. The steel's gone. What kind of steel are they using now? What am I going to grab that out with? Just give me a minute, it's not completely... The steel's all turned to crumble. Can you believe it? Heavens above, I need something large to grip it with now. Oh, unless I try to grab it between two of these, that's very risky. That's very. I can't use that. It's very risky. This. Let's just try it. We just have to get it down onto here. So lift that out. Try to grab the mould. No. No, it's breaking up. Oh, there's something in the freaking mould there blocking it. Right, anyway, we'll give it a try. Right, we're going to pour the silver now. Pull it down. Oh, I think it might have filled the mould, you know. But that's steel. Look at that, steel. That's never steel. This was purchased as 0.5mm steel. It's been in a burnout furnace for 12 hours and it's gone like tissue paper. The steel I used to use just 20 years ago, you could reuse the flask 20 times before it was in a bad state. So you can see the quality of metal, how it's deteriorated. I don't know where this is from and I won't say, but it's not British steel, that's for sure. Oh.
Despite the shoddy steel, Shaun has managed to cast something. The question is, what?
We'll just have to see anyway. There might be a chance that it's actually filled the mould. The mould is totally disintegrated, the actual casting. Now, the moment of truth, you can see what we have. I think we might have it, but I can't see for sure.
While Shaun in Bolton has been sweating over his casting, Janina in Oxford has been delving even deeper into the Visigoths.
What's interesting about the Visigoths is that they were the only people that managed to build great cities between the collapse of Rome around the 400s and the Carolingian Empire in the 800s. They also absorbed Christianity. And as a result of this, they start producing beautiful works of art with different types of materials, pearls, sapphires, rubies, that have a Christian message. And they are a very unique development in the history of art. But when we see objects like the eagle brooches, they're coming probably from that earlier phase of the Visigothic travels across Europe. They're not overtly Christian. They seem to be connecting back to a worldview where nature and man can slide between one another, where a man can turn into an eagle and turn into a god. So that is what we're looking at with these eagle brooches.
Back in his workshop, the man-god of Bolton has some good news. His silver cast may have left the kiln looking like a clump of seaweed, but with a bit of sprucing up, it's come out rather well.
Still needs quite a bit of work, polishing and that, whatever, but that's workable. I can get that finished. I've taken all the runners and risers off. We've got the pin to go in here. I'm just putting the herringbone pattern into the back of the brooch now. Typical of Visigothic stuff, probably representing feather pattern.
Having cut in the herringbone feathers, Shaun burnishes the back of the brooch the traditional way, by rubbing it with a spoon.
Standard process, they didn't have sandpaper, so they used something hard, shiny metal, or possibly an agate stone.
With the Visigoth brooch starting to look like a Visigoth brooch, Shaun needs something to keep it in. So he pops upstairs to his pal Apenda, who runs a Bolton clothing store.
Hi, Apenda.
Hey, Shaun.
How's
You
things?
right?
Yeah. I've got a bit of a job for you.
Yeah.
This is something I'm making. This is actual size, but that's enlarged just so you can see the detail.
Oh, it's pretty cool,
It's a
isn't it?
Gothic brooch set with gems eventually. Now, I want kind of a pouch for it, either velvet or leather. What would you recommend?
That's brilliant, that. Like it. Leather would be nice, wouldn't it?
Leather, I think, we'll set on. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. About that sort of size.
Yeah, just to fit it snugly. So,
Sweet.
Yeah.
Looks really nice.
So how much is that?
About 20 quid.
That's great,
Two
yeah, yeah.
weeks.
2 weeks, that's
that
great.
enough? Is that all
Yeah,
right?
that's fine. Thank you very much, yeah. That'd be ideal.
All right, like
Great
it.
stuff. Thank
All
you.
right. See you later, Sean.
Bye-bye.
Back in the workshop, it's time to begin the most complicated part of the brooch. Making and fitting the silver compartments for the garnets and the amethysts.
I've started out with a piece of silver. I've beaten it down some already. Then repeat the process over and over again, maybe 8 or 10 times until we get down to the thin stuff that we can use for the cells.
When the silver's thin enough, Shaun cuts and fits the individual cells. It's a delicate task that requires maximum precision.
Trying to position the eye now, which is all crucial to give the thing the look of life.
And when all the bits are cut and shaped,
Right, so I'm going to have to put my magnifiers on for this one.
Shaun breaks open his soldering kit and starts putting the jigsaw together.
The Visigoths would have used a handheld blow lamp to get the flame, but it takes constant practice to do well, so we just use this.
And after a lot of fiddling, the various bits are all made.
Wing and the other wing. I'll get the head in now. Job done.
Back upstairs, the pouch that Shaun ordered should also be ready.
Ah, Leslie. Hello,
Oh,
Leslie.
hiya.
Hiya. Are the pouches ready at all?
Yeah, they are actually, yeah.
Right, oh, great. They look great, them. It's looking good. It's a snug fit, but I prefer a snug fit, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it won't sort of move about then.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, that's great,
Yeah,
that.
during my sales pitch then, yeah. Right then.
Yeah, that's great. So, what do I owe you?
Nothing. No, it's
Sure?
all right, yeah. Yeah.
Right then, thank
You owe
you
me
very
a
much.
favour.
Okay.
You owe me a pint.
Right, anytime. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks
Bye-bye.
a lot. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Now he's got the pouch, Shaun can begin work on the blingy bits of the Visigoth brooch.
Right, I'm getting on with the gilding now. This is electro gilding rather than the mercury gilding, but it's so toxic I just can't afford my health to do such things anymore. So I've used it a couple of times. It's very damaging to the health, so that's out of the question now. So we'll carry on with this. Just dip into solution, form a full electrical circuit, and the gilding starts to go on gently. It's like a magical process, like seeing a picture develop in a developing tray as it comes up from silver to gold. The Visigoths used gilt silver and gilt bronze mostly, but they did use silver as well, and occasionally for the top pieces solid gold, but cost-wise we're using silver. Basic electroplating caused a great stir when it first came out. It is a magical kind of process, similar to photography, and its magical quality, it just turns base metals into gold. To look in, as they're gold, obviously they know, but to the eye, it fools the eye just as photography does. So. Get the edge of it, that's where they get worn the most, so we'll put an extra thick layer on any sharp edges so they last and they don't get worn through. Right, I've virtually done in there now, but I've a little bit spilt, so we'll use every last drop. I think that's just about done it now. We've used everything.
With the brooch gilded, the next task is to line it with gold foil.
This is to reflect the light behind the stone you see in all medieval and Dark Age garnet jewellery.
But getting the gold leaf into the cells is a tricky business, with every cell individually fitted.
Right, we've done the foils, now the actual stone has to be fitted. Need my goggles on for this, but it's very fine work. Fit it around, get it right. Drop in the top edge. Lay it down. Now, you can see that's not quite right. I have to get my grinder now, the diamond bar, and take a very fraction off that edge. Fractions of a millimetre we're talking about. I'll get on with that now with the diamond bar. Like I said, there's no adhesives used, they're just held in by very close fit. So continually. It might be there now. Right, that's the garnet fixed. So many more to do. I'll have to get on with the next one. The amethyst next, so we'll start with that.
One stone down, 49 to go. For Shaun Greenhalgh, it's going to be a long summer.
I am particularly excited about seeing this Visigothic brooch that Shaun's been making. I know there's been some issues, particularly sourcing the right kind of garnets because they simply aren't available anymore. I know it's going to be bigger than these ones, so inevitably a lot more work. Can't wait to see what he's come up with. Hello, Shaun.
Hi, Janina.
And how's it been?
I've one or two issues with it. Mostly the garnets, trying to source the same kind of colours.
And that's just because there isn't a supply at the
You
moment.
just can't get them anymore.
Right, right,
that's
okay.
a bit of a problem.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. Let's get it out.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, Shaun, it's amazing. I love it. Oh my goodness. That is absolutely beautiful. And you've got the glass in there?
Yeah, the green and the blue is glass, yes.
Goodness.
Amethysts and garnets.
And have you put the foil behind the amethyst? Is that an amethyst in the centre?
It is, yeah. I just didn't have time to make it as I wanted to make it with the garnets and amethyst, so I've had to just put that in just to end it.
Yes, because I remember in the original design it was going to be garnet, but
Yeah.
you know, this is so true to the Visigothic form because you've got the coloured glass, and then that mix between the garnets and the amethyst is actually it's a striking effect, isn't it? It creates a completely
very
different
Visigothic,
look.
yes.
I mean, I have heard a little bird told me that a big bird is the inspiration for this. Stella,
Yes.
the eagle from the reserve.
Yes.
Have you named it Stella?
Stella, yeah.
Excellent. It's a fitting name, perfect name for it. I want to have a look at the back as well. That's looking good. I love the way you've scored it here.
That's just the pattern. They put a herringbone pattern on, but the interesting thing about it is that if you look at it, the pin is offset to one side.
Yeah.
So when it hangs on the cloak, the eagle leans in on a thick woolen cloak rather than flat or out. That's for the right-hand one. They usually had a left-hand one as well, and they put the pin on the other side, so they're both kind of leaning in. Yeah.
That's incredible. Wonderful thing, you know, that you've managed to bring in that small sort of detail, but that really brings
it's a small
to
detail
life.
that counts, isn't it?
And it looks incredible, looks authentic. Wow. And it weighs a lot.
Yeah. It's a fair beast.
It is a fair
Stella was,
beast.
wasn't she?
Yeah. Well, I am so impressed by Stella. She
Thank
is
you.
stunning. It's also, you know, pretty impressive
It is.
statement of power, isn't it? When you imagine someone wearing a pair of these. Serious bling.
That's what they went in for.
Yep. Well, listen, there's always more to be done, isn't there? Shall we get on and do the next thing?
Okay, come on, let's go.
Went to college, studied art. To be an artist, make a start. Studied hard.
Shaun Greenhalgh was once a prolific forger. From ancient carvings to modern paintings, there was nothing he couldn't make.
A bit like putting in an old window.
But a spell in prison convinced him to renounce his past. So he's teamed up with Oxford historian Dr. Janina Ramirez
Oh my gosh.
to rediscover the secrets of the ancients and to try to match their skills. As for me, I'm Waldemar Januszczak, and my job is to keep tabs on them. It's a sunny morning in London, and Dr. Janina Ramirez has brought Shaun Greenhalgh to the Victoria and Albert Museum.
First time I saw it in Rome, I thought it was a mill chimney carved in marble.
Janina's speciality is early medieval art, and that's something they've got a lot of here.
The medieval galleries. Fantastic, aren't they?
Aren't they beautiful?
Absolutely, yes.
Some of my favourite things are in these galleries.
Some of mine too.
And this is what I brought you here to see.
Oh, right.
The Nottingham alabasters, because they're alabaster and they're from Nottingham.
Absolutely, yes.
But it's rather a surprise, isn't it, to see such fabulous works of art coming out of England in the late medieval period,
Yeah.
when we don't really think of it as a cultural hotbed, do we?
And going all over Europe and all over the world, as it was then.
Yeah. And they are usually depicting very religious scenes,
Yes.
aren't they?
Church art, basically.
Church art, yes, yeah. Effigies and little figures of saints. Have you ever worked with alabaster before, Shaun?
Yes, mainly calcite alabaster, the stuff used in Egypt and the Middle East.
How's alabaster to work with?
It's very easy to work with, especially the Nottingham alabaster, because it's a gypsum alabaster. Whereas the calcite that the Egyptians used was harder than this, but this is... it can be a problem with the marl in it. It can crumble away and you can lose parts of it, so that's the only downside of it, but it is easy to work, just as it's like working wood, actually.
Oh, really?
It's similar hardness, yeah.
And the marl, the red clay, that gives it this sort of veiny appearance.
Yeah,
sometimes,
it gives it its
doesn't
distinctive look.
And of
Become
course,
more
these
and more
would have
brittle.
been then, maybe you'd have had some gesso on there, some gilding,
Yes,
some paint.
yes. They'd be quite gaudy, they would be.
Yeah.
Painted up in bright colours and gilding and reds and greens and all kinds of colours of the rainbow on them.
Now, you can see a range of different scenes here. I'm taken with these panels. They are sort of the traditional size for an alabaster panel, aren't they?
Yes.
Do you think you would be able to make something like that, Shaun?
Well, if I can get hold of the gypsum alabaster, I'll give it my best shot, and yes, I think so. Painted up and gilded, so they wouldn't look quite like these, a bit brighter colours, but would see them as it was originally made.
OK, well, I am excited. That is your challenge.
Right.
I want
okay.
to see this completed.
Right.
Let's get
Will
on.
do. My best shot.
Brilliant. Let's get on.
In Oxford, Janina has been investigating the origins of Nottingham alabaster.
Nottingham alabaster becomes one of the defining elements of English medieval art. Really, it's at its high point in the 14th and 15th century. And there's a good geological reason for it, because running in a band up here, all the way across the country, is a layer of clay known as red marl. And that clay allows for deposits of gypsum underneath, which is a form of plaster, and alabaster. So you see red veins where the clay has gone into the alabaster. That made it perfect for depicting figures. Gives almost like a skin tone quality to it. And Nottingham alabaster was very important in showing us that during this period of Catholic medieval England, they were making fine art. England was Catholic for 1,000 years, and yet in the 14th, 15th century, that's where it really gathers momentum, and we can see it in these pieces that are very Catholic in their subject matter. They often show scenes from the life of Christ or Mary, or images of saints. These were all the sorts of things that were targeted by Henry VIII under the Protestant Reformation. These were precisely the things he wanted destroyed. Which means that very few of these Nottingham alabasters survive here in England. That is not the case on the continent, however. English alabaster appears in Iceland, in Poland, in Croatia, but most popular, it seems, in France. This shows that just for this glimmer, for this century and a half or so, England was at the centre of an extremely important artistic revolution.
14th century England may have been packed with Nottingham alabaster, but these days it's hard to find. So Shaun has come to the Fold mine in Staffordshire,
The original end were about half a mile away.
where Jim, the manager, is taking him deep underground.
Do you ever have any collapses? Is it a common occurrence? Or...
No, this roadway is thoroughly inspected.
It's really interesting, this. I haven't seen anything like it.
Down here is the only place in Britain where Shaun can get the right alabaster. But you have to go very deep.
We're over here.
Right, yep. Disembark.
Fantastic.
So, Shaun, this is the travel route into the mine. It takes you to the modern workings,
Right.
which is some 7 or 8 kilometres further in. But this is the area where gypsum was mined for plaster manufacture, and also where we were mining the blocks of alabaster.
Right. How old would these workings be?
This will be late 19th century.
Right. They just followed the seams of gypsum as they found them?
They just followed the best rocks.
Till they worked out, yeah.
They were looking for the best quality rock.
Then they would abandon it and just move on to try and find the next?
That's absolutely right.
Oh, terrific.
There's a simple test for alabaster. Alabaster's got these unique optical properties and it becomes translucent under light. So if you just turn your light off, Shaun, and I'll...
Oh, yes, fantastic.
Here, it starts to glow, and it's obviously the different shapes and crystals within the rock that made it so attractive. The marl that's above and below the seam actually infuses into the seam, and that's what gives it these unique sort of pink.
Yeah, it's very distinctive Nottingham alabaster, isn't it? If you see it anywhere in the world, you can see that it's the...
Can instantly be picked out.
It's a beautiful stone.
So, Shaun, you're looking for a piece.
I am, yes, to do a project. You could help me out with
I've
that.
got the technology to cut a piece as we did down there, and we might be able to find a piece from the side of the roadway.
Yeah, a rough piece would do it. I can cut it to shape.
Here, let's have a look here.
Right. These look promising. I'll knock my light off so you can... That's the best way you said, isn't it? To be able to see
just
it.
turn your light off, Shaun.
Oh, yes.
And then if you look at that, the lovely glow to it. So if that's big enough, that
would be ideal. Genuine Nottingham alabaster. Didn't think to get a piece of it, but that would be great. Once it's scrubbed up. Oh, yes. That's a fine piece of alabaster.
Okay, this piece is suitable then, Shaun.
Yeah, this is rather too large, Jim, but that'd be ideal. Thank you very much. That'd be great.
Right. We'll take this with us then.
Thank you very much. That's a great piece.
The next day, Janina arrives in Bolton to see the big lump of alabaster that Shaun has lugged home.
Hi, Shaun. Lovely to be in your home.
Yeah, lovely weather.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So it's great.
Right, yeah. Got something to show you. You take a seat.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That is one hefty lump of rock. What are we looking at?
This is a piece of the gypsum alabaster from the mine I was yesterday.
Oh my gosh. It's a huge slab.
It is. It's very, very heavy too.
And it's good to know they've still got sections like this. Large enough to make a panel.
So, we'll demonstrate the translucency, possibly.
Yeah. Even on a lump like... Oh my gosh! Wow! So the colour really comes through that section in particular.
Yeah, that's the finest part of it.
That's amazing.
That's the marl in it. You can see the red on the end. That's what's distinctive about Nottingham alabasters. I've cut the end off because I have to cut it into a slab.
It's a remarkable piece of rock. What are you going to do with it?
Well, I've come up with a drawn design to scale. Something of that nature.
Wonderful. So what are we looking at?
Well, an Annunciation panel, you know. It's the moment the angel Gabriel comes down to her to tell Mary she's going to give birth to Jesus. We have the lilies here, a pot of lilies symbolising purity, which was a standard thing then. Hail Mary, full of grace, on the banner. And she's raising her hand to acknowledge that she's heard him say what he's telling her while she's reading a book. Not the Beano, probably, but the Bible, most likely.
She's got serious, virtuous reading to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so you're going to do this with colour, with gilding?
Yes, as it would originally have looked. Dark coloured green background with a daisy pattern, red and white. How you see them now in the museums, that's not how they were at all, is it?
Yeah, so you're going to make it as it was?
Yes, as it was new.
New, brilliant. Gilded?
Could be, yeah.
Look at me trying to get gold into everything. I mean, this design looks absolutely fantastic, and it's going to look even better when it's coloured. I can't wait to see it. You need to get busy.
I do.
You've got work to do.
Sewing arm going, absolutely.
With the rock cut into shape, Shaun staggers to his workshop in a converted mill in Bolton, ready to start carving. The first task is to transfer his Annunciation drawing onto the stone. It's something he pulls off with some cheap and cheerful tracing paper.
The old timers would use prick and pounce, like have an assistant to prick all the lines with dots and then a little bag of charcoal in muslin. They'd pounce it on and leave an image with little dots of charcoal. But this is just the modern conveniences. They'd have used it if they'd have had it, I should imagine. Get the lilies in there. All right, we're going to the figures now. Let's have a quick look. Right, that's all done by the actual star of the show.
With the drawing transferred, Shaun grabs his saw and starts cutting the block.
This is just an ordinary wood saw because the alabaster is probably as hard as a middling hardwood, not particularly hard at all.
And with that done, he pulls out his trusty drill and attacks the rock.
This is like the most labour-intensive part, to chain drill it down. The reason for chain drilling like this is to weaken the structure and to remove as much of the material as quickly as we possibly can. Now we have 2 holes. Filled the first one, but of no match, it's only dust. Now we'll carry on down to here. So we'll drill the holes, then we can knock the actual pieces out in between. It's like a honeycomb, so that makes it so much easier. I'm using an electric drill, obviously, but the old timers would use a bow drill, just like a bent piece of wood with a string and the actual drill bit within the bow, so as you move it like a violin, I suppose. It must have taken an age compared to the speed that I can use this. Right, I've drilled all the holes with the chain drilling. It's just to get rid of the material now. Well, this gives us a chance just to start to remove the honeycomb. We'll start to knock the honeycomb out. So it just crumbles. And if I hit it on a solid area, it'd probably go a millimetre in with one blow. But with this, see, we're getting half a centimetre with every blow. How much out of it? You can see we're already down an inch. So that's halfway down to the baseline that we want to go. The next stage would be to carry on with this chain drilling all through the, I'll hatch the area, this is all to come out. So I'll have to get on with the chain drilling, and when you come back, it should be on its way.
To get his eye in with the Nottingham alabasters, Shaun has come on a day trip to Haddon Hall in Derbyshire. He's arranged to meet Brian the guide, who's going to show him round.
Hi, you must be Brian.
Hello, Shaun.
Hi, Brian.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you.
Oh, welcome to Haddon Hall, Shaun.
Thank you, Brian. It's a wonderful place.
It is. This is the picture that everyone wants when they come here. They want to
No
see it.
wonder.
And this building was built in 1370.
It's old as that. Wow.
Welcome to our chapel.
Thank you very much. Oh, what a wonderful space.
Before they were brought back to Britain by the owners of Haddon Hall,
This is St Nicholas.
the superb alabasters here were preserved miraculously in a church in Iceland.
They were purchased by the 9th Duke in about 1933. When he got them, they were all boxed up. We think they're original 15th century Nottingham alabaster, which I think is a gypsum. Okay, so it's the period that you're looking at. We've got 9 scenes in front of us here, and we believe that at one stage there are possibly 11.
Right.
Although we don't know where those other 2 are. And it's the Passion of Christ, the Crucifixion, etc.
They're in fantastic condition compared to what we normally see.
These, when they were purchased, were actually framed in boxes. And these ended up in Iceland, we think, after the Reformation. They were squirreled away there.
For their own protection, otherwise
their
they
own
wouldn't have
protection,
survived, don't
yeah.
they? Excellent.
Yeah.
So rare survival.
Apart from the odd nose, which is...
Yeah, right, but it's nothing compared to most of them haven't survived at all, or just in fragments, haven't they? You rarely see them in the colours.
Yeah.
I've noticed the gilding on them, Brian.
Well, do you know, we rarely come this close, and it's amazing. I mean, if I put my torch on, I bet we can really pick up that, yeah, you can see it really shiny. And we rarely get to see it this close.
Peppered through each panel, isn't it? Just to pick up the highlights. And
it is.
This looks like genuine, original 15th, 14th century gilding because the blisters within it. That's what you get with the old gilding.
Okay.
When they're applying it, it's much thicker than the modern gilding, and over the time it starts to blister and come off, and I'm sure that's
repeated again on all. And this one has got the framework around the side. Stunning.
And when they're absolutely brand new, it would absolutely sparkle.
Wouldn't it?
Wasn't it? Yeah, with the candlelight. Great stuff.
History Hit is a streaming platform that is just for history fans, with fantastic documentaries covering fascinating figures and moments in history from all over the world. We aim to bring you only the most dramatic and fascinating stories of the past through our award-winning documentaries. Find out about the rise of leaders such as Cleopatra and Napoleon in our latest offering of exclusive documentaries. Sign up now for a free trial, and Perspective fans get 50% off their first 3 months. Just be sure to use the code PERSPECTIVE at checkout.
Refreshed and inspired by Haddon Hall, Shaun has speeded up work on his Annunciation.
Since you were last here, I've got on with it a little bit. You can see the castellations I've done there. Got it down there. And this is, as far as I've managed to get, about 2 days' work. You can see the lilies starting to be formed, and then you can see this figure is blocked out. I put his wing in there, but with no feather detail in it at the moment. So I have to take all this out that I've cross-hatched by now, and then start to carve the figures. I've only ever made one other piece in gypsum alabaster, and that was a Nottingham alabaster. I found the block in a dry stone wall in Derbyshire, actually, because you couldn't just get it from any quarries then. We've been very lucky to get this piece from Fold Quarry. But the other things I worked on is something called calcite alabaster, which is slightly harder, more translucent, and it doesn't have all these marls in it, so it is a very beautiful stone. The Egyptians used it. It's used in the Middle East today as well, for the finer things. Right, I've taken out most of the background now. There's just a small amount left here. So we'll have to take that out, then I can get at the angel's head and start carving that in the round board. Oh, damn it. These are the things that happen. See, it's very, very marly. That's where it's gone through. You can see the brown line given way. But that's a happy accident because it's come away. So as I said, that's the highest point, the elbow. So I would have to take that down anyway, so that would have been removed. So it's kind of saved me a job. It slows everything down when you hit the marl. You haven't got X-ray vision, so you just have to go around the chin. You see it's flaking with the marl. In the worst possible place, this. Damn it. I'll take that out. Right, that's what I've got to. Just a suggestion of the arm and the elbow. The face will have to take very much time with the marl in it. So it's a long process and a slow process. I'm going to have to take my time with it. But that's as far as I've got for now.
A week later, there's some grim news from Bolton. The marl, which made Nottingham alabaster so special, had impacted dramatically on Shaun's plans.
Well, this is the alabaster panel, but I've had a massive disaster with it. I'll turn it around and show you what's left of it. Just the architectural framework. I've had to take all the figures away. The faces just crumbled away. It's like carving in brown sugar. Absolutely impossible. And the band runs right through where it shouldn't have been. There's good alabaster here, right where the figures were. Complete disaster. So the only thing I can think of, I have another piece of alabaster. I'll have to have a good look at it and cut some good pieces out of it if I can manage it. And the only solution to that is to carve the figures separately and put them in on dowels, wooden dowels. The old timers did that, especially with heads when they replaced different figures, putting new heads on and whatever. So it's the only solution because I can't get another block of alabaster.
I see the couples dancing through the night. They hold each other tight as they dance on and on until the morning light. The soft embraces that they seem to share just make me feel aware of the loneliness I find so hard to bear.
Is the wing broken off?
Oh, See, it's so full of fractures, it's impossible to work with. It's absolute shite. See, there's a fracture there, that could go at any moment. That's what I'm dealing with. It's absolutely just crumbling away. It's usually pretty tough stuff, you know. The f am I going to do with this? I really don't know what to do. I usually think of a solution, but I'm just lost for words. I don't know what to say.
After 3 weeks of deep despair, Shaun finally works out how to complete his Nottingham alabaster. He's been busy in the studio and is ready to confront us with a big surprise.
Right, since the disaster of last time, I've had to redesign it and recut the figures in Spanish alabaster, calcite alabaster rather than gypsum as the background is. Calcite is easier to carve than gypsum alabaster. It's slightly harder, but it cuts better. It's much finer grain, so you can get the finer detail into it. So this is the figures as they are on the background now. I've recut the Virgin inside profile. I think it suited it better. I've changed the design. I always change designs in when they never end up looking like the drawing. So the angel is almost the same, the inscription here. But the reason I had to cut the figures is you can see now that they're done. The fineness of detail in the faces, it just couldn't be cut in this. It just crumbled away with the nose, the mouth, the very fine facial details. So I've recarved those. So the last thing to do now is to paint it. So we'll get on with that. Right. I'm going to paint it in a traditional manner with egg tempera. First of all, we need an egg, obviously. These are hen eggs. They're traditionally used duck eggs. Crack it, hopefully, without breaking the yolk. I'm not a cook, so you'll have to bear with me if I break 1 or 2 yolks. Just let the white run away. Oh well, now. Try and burst the yolk and run it in there. Now, the powder colour to go in next. It has to be left to dissolve over a period of about 3 days. So it'll just go frothy. So we'll do that. We may need more, but I just want to check the intensity. We'll stir that in. Like I said, it's very grainy, but it will dissolve over a period. People forget when they see these things and the paint's almost completely worn away, they think that they're actually just a stone, but they were painted really gaudily, something like off a fairground attraction. I've decided on the colour scheme. The angel is going to be in yellow, and obviously the Virgin in blue, and a bit of gilding splashed around here and there, and a green background with a little daisy pattern. Right, starting with the dark green first of all. can't hang about with temporary. You've got to kind of waz it on it. Like I said, it dries quickly. But this is what they traditionally use, so we're going to have to use it. It will look shockingly garish when it's painted. This green is quite subtle, but the rest of the colour will be very, very bright. I suppose the dullness of the everyday lives meant they wanted something very bright. Right, we'll get the daisy pattern in. It's always a red dot in the centre, surrounded by 5 white dots. You see it on all medieval art, especially on Nottingham alabasters. The backgrounds are always green with this daisy pattern on them. I don't know why, I don't know what the tradition is behind it, but that's the way it is. So another couple of days painting, get on with the figures, and we'll have it finished. Last stage, a little bit of gilding, give it a bit of bling, and we're done.
True to his word, a couple of days later, Shaun arranges to meet Janina in the medieval galleries at the V&A. She's heard all about his problems, but not a word about his solutions.
Well, I do not know what to expect. Over the past month, poor Shaun has had so many troubles with this alabaster. All I can do is wait and see. Shaun! This is the moment. I have been looking forward to this. How has it been?
I've had a few problems with it.
I heard.
I think the block of alabaster had been shocked, so it was fractured, and as I was cutting the figures, it kind of crumbled away. I've got the architectural detail in it, but the figures I've had to recut in Spanish alabaster. You can't tell now it's all been painted, it just looks as one, so...
So I'm excited because it's painted. This is going to be, very different from what we're like. Yeah.
See here.
Oh my goodness, I can't wait to see it. Okay. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I can't get over it.
Very blingy, isn't it? Not much like we see here.
Incredible. Shaun, it's amazing. I can't believe it.
Brightly coloured, isn't it?
The colour. I mean, this has just blown apart my preconceptions of ancient art, really, because, I mean, I'm just so impressed by how bright it is, but it's almost garish, isn't it?
Yeah, fairground art, yeah.
Fairground art. Yeah. But the detail, good grief, look at the detailing here. I love how you've carved in the side of the throne. When we look at them like this, they've lost all the detail. They've lost the storytelling.
Absolutely, yeah. They've lost it, yeah.
Yeah, because now, I mean, look at the drama on the angel's face. It's
well, I've
amazing.
tried to get the shock and awe in the Virgin's face.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine being told you're having a child before you've had a man. It would be shocking, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty dramatic moment, yeah. I'm absolutely overwhelmed. And again, I think the thing that I always took for granted was that when I see an alabaster, it's got that kind of veiny, clear, almost sort of translucent, fleshy feel.
None of it would have been seen.
None of it would have been seen.
No, completely covered over.
It's just the sort of the basis for the art that sits on top. Really, it has blown my expectations of medieval art.
Good.
Wide apart.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, listen, you have done it. This one's done. So, on to the next one.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Went to college, studied art, to be an artist, make a start.
Shaun Greenhalgh was once a prolific forger. From ancient carvings to modern paintings, there was nothing he couldn't make.
Like putting in an old window.
But a spell in prison convinced him to renounce his past. So he's teamed up with Oxford historian Dr. Janina Ramirez.
Oh my gosh!
To rediscover the secrets of the ancients and to try to match their skills. As for me, I'm Waldemar Januszczak, and my job is to keep tabs on them. Janina has brought Shaun to the Wallace collection in London. It's a museum filled with famous paintings. But that's not what she wants to show him.
Shaun, great to be in the Wallace collection,
Yes,
isn't it?
fantastic place.
well, known for its 18th century painting, but look at all these glorious curiosities.
Great thing, the ivories.
Ivories.
Ceramics.
Ceramics, and I mean, look at that. That's incredible as a piece of ceramic, isn't it?
Fantastic, isn't it?
So it's a Palissy, French, 16th century, possibly.
Late.
But late, yeah. If it's not by him, it's by someone following after him, because he was hugely influential.
Yeah, he was. He had a lot of followers, yes, and a lot of copiers.
Bernard Palissy was a maker of French Renaissance pottery. His plates, covered in realistic animals, vegetation and snakes, are some of the most extraordinary ever made.
It's definitely a life mould.
A life mould.
Yeah.
So how would that happen then?
You have to kill the poor beast first of all and set it in a clay base, and then take a plaster mould of it, make some plaster of Paris, pour it over it, and then take the dead snake out and replace the snake with clay slip.
Oh, it's a bit
gruesome,
gory,
isn't it? Yeah. Same with the fish. I think the fish is alive, casting the lizard.
Really? And that's
What the
why they look
crayfish
so
are.
realistic.
Yes.
But it's like a little study in nature, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Leaves, individual leaves. And I'm taken with that frog up there, look.
Yeah, beautiful, isn't it?
Raising its head up. Yeah. An absolute kind of little miniature world, isn't it?
Yes.
How long do you think something like that would take to make?
Probably about a week, maybe.
A week?
Ceramics are pretty quick to make. Yeah. Once you've got the moulds would probably take a week, and then the making of the object about a week. There's only 2 firings in it.
You could do this in a week?
Yes, easily, yes.
Easily, right.
Sure.
OK, challenge.
Right.
I want to see one of these in a week.
Right, you're on. Better get busy.
Yeah.
If he's going to make a Palissy in a week, Shaun needs to get cracking. So the next day in Bolton, he's up at dawn, sketching out his first ideas.
I've been thinking about a design for it, and I've come up with this. So initially, it's a stream running around an island, basically, and then a broad brim around the edge with the animals and creatures upon it. There'll be a grass snake, centre stage, a main snake, a small grass snake here, a few small common frogs dotted about, and 2 European green lizards. I'll just draw them in faintly first so I get the proportions right, so I don't have to use the rubber on them. I'll draw the legs. Other people always get the legs the wrong way around on reptiles. I'll get the tail in there. Long curving tail. I'm going to put a frog in here, being eaten by the snake, so we'll put him in here, just a small frog. Lunge for the grass snake, possibly. I think that's it now. We're going to put 2 fish in now. A roach in first here, so we get a bit of movement around the plate as we've got with the lizards and the frogs. I think that's about it.
Having planned his plate, Shaun sets off to find out what Palissy's beasties really looked like. He's come to a local nature reserve, the Rixton Clay Pits, in the hope of spotting some reptiles.
Hi, Mike.
Shaun, how you doing?
OK.
Right, I believe you want to see some lizards and newts?
Yes, please, lead on.
OK, follow me.
So, Mike, do you have any grass snakes here?
No, actually, no, we don't. It's quite surprising. The habitat's perfect for it.
When we were kids, there were loads of them, wasn't there? But they seem to have died away.
Yeah.
The thing is, the reason I'm making a copy of a Bernard Palissy plate, the French guy from the 16th century, Henry VIII's time, Elizabeth I. And I want to look at some reptiles, grass snakes and stuff, because he featured all these kind of things on them.
Oh,
he actually killed the actual creatures and took plaster moulds of the bodies and then cast them and put them on these ceramics. So that's why I'm here to have a look at stuff. But I believe you've got a lot of newts here, haven't you?
Yeah, we do.
Good place for newts.
Yeah, Rixton Clay Pits. It's one of the top sites in the country for the protected great crested newt.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Hopefully we can find some for you.
Yeah, well, you never know with nature, do you? You can't
No, you don't.
choreograph it.
Yeah, so I guess the name of the game now is just being patient.
Yes.
If something swims by.
We'll walk further up, see if we can see anything.
Okay.
Looks something dash away there. I suppose Palliser didn't have this trouble in his time.
No, I expect you'd have a lot more to go.
Yeah, the French countryside would be teeming with it, wouldn't it?
It would have been full of them, yeah.
Back in the 1500s.
Yeah. Shame you're not doing damselflies, isn't it?
Yes.
They're knocking about today.
Yeah, they're knocking about, aren't they?
Back in Oxford, Dr. Janina Ramirez has been in the library, investigating the man who made the animal pots.
Bernard Palissy was probably born around 1510, and he spent most of his life in and around France, particularly around Paris. And the story goes that when he was a boy, he saw a piece of porcelain, and this porcelain just fascinated him. Palissy was so obsessed with creating beautiful porcelain that he actually drove his family into poverty. There's a story that he broke up the furniture, pulled up the floorboards in his house so that he could fire his kiln and continue his experiments. Eventually, he was recognised for what he'd developed, which was a different form of pottery, known as Palissy ware. And usually, the ones that survive are platters, and on the surface are creatures that are made from life casts, it seems. Well, death casts. Creatures like snakes, lizards, that he has moulded from them. And he was also fascinated by the sciences. He was one of the first people to have realised that fossils were in fact dead creatures from the past. He thought they were the result of the biblical flood. What's also fascinating is that he was a Huguenot, a Protestant, in Catholic France. And his religious beliefs, I think, had a profound effect on the artworks that he's left behind. Because, on the one hand, as a Protestant, he's not creating the sorts of religious iconography that we'd usually see at this time. So he's not making images of the Madonna and the saints. Instead, he's creating beautiful visualizations of God's creation. But there's also something dark and prophetic about the works, because there's a sense in which, if you imagine these platters laden with fruit, with food, as you worked your way through all the glorious, delicious flavours, at the bottom will be this reminder of the earthly nature of our existence. And actually, it's the darker creatures, the snakes, the lizards, the spiders, all those creatures that in art are traditionally associated with the negative, and indeed even the hellish, the devil. They remind you that there is another aspect to existence. It's almost like a memento mori. Watch your behaviour, watch your soul.
With the countryside in Lancashire supplying so little in the way of real wildlife, Shaun has come to the Bolton Museum in the hope of sourcing some alternatives.
Well, this is the place, Bolton Museum. I haven't been here for a while. I'm with a bit of trepidation, a bit of fear, the nerves are jangling a bit, so here we go, I think.
He's anxious because an Egyptian statue from his forgery days was acquired by the museum and is now on show as a fake. But with those days behind him, he pops into the natural history section and then into the museum shop, where he cleans them out of rubber snakes. The next day, Janina arrives in Bolton to check on Shaun's progress. He said he could make a Palissy in a week. So how's he doing?
Hey Shaun, good to be back in Bolton.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Yeah, back in. Oh my goodness. So this is what you've been working on.
The Wallace collection, this is kind of what I've come up with. Kind of a policey design.
Oh, you've done so well. This looks amazing. And it's very similar to the one we saw in the Wallace, isn't it? Where
yes.
the snake was on a sort of a rock in the centre.
Yeah, on the island with the water going around it. A couple of fish, a little pike, a roach.
Yeah, because we saw a pike, didn't we? Was it a pike on the other one?
Yes,
it was, wasn't it?
Yes.
And you've got the frogs in. So
The seashells.
Is it going to be this size?
Approximately, yes. It may not turn out exactly like that, but something like that.
Okay. And it's going to have that same motion as well. I love that, the idea they're swimming around.
Yeah, if you look at the genuine palaces, they always have everything going around, so it kind of gives a sense of movement, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be beautiful. Very hard to do, but beautiful. Can't wait to see it.
What I have to do now is go and find the clay.
Oh, okay.
Right, so I'm going to demonstrate how Palisa would have dug his own clay because it wasn't commercially available. This is just on a tiny scale. So you kind of have to imagine these buckets as brick ponds. I'll dig some raw clay for starters. It's all plant debris in it and pebbles and stones, so we'll dump that in there. I think that's actually enough to be going on with for starters. You see it just in the bucket. We'll get some water without slipping in, that's the trick of it. That's it. It's full of plant debris, stuff that's fallen in over centuries and even millions of years. Stones and grit that would just blow up in the kiln. If we use it directly, so we'll just get like, we have to chop up the clay in the bottom of and turn it into a slurry in effect rather than a large lump in water. Soup, clay soup if you like. To get my hands in now, I'm afraid. You can see all the debris in it, all the bits of detritus, the plant. You feel all the grit and the stones as you squeeze it through your hand. There's thousands and thousands of them. So you would never be able to separate it without using the water. Right now, I've virtually turned it all into a fine slurry. There's a few pieces in the bottom that they'll be drained away. So the trick is to agitate it, bring all the detritus from the top, and then leave it and let it settle for 5 minutes. The top part will be skimmed with a net, a fine mesh net. You can see all the plant debris on the surface. So that would be taken off, more professional than I'm doing at the moment. And all the stones and the grit will go to the bottom. So then what we want is the stuff in the middle, the actual clay slurry. So, and gently, we pour the slurry off the top, making sure we leave all the detritus and the heavy stuff on the bottom, the grits and the stones. This will be running through a sluice in a brick pond, if you imagine it on a big scale. All the rough stuff in the bottom, all the grit and the stones, you feel it's full of grit and stones. You can hear it on the bottom of the tin. And we'll get rid of this. Imagine it's been a clean pond. The next pond along, they had about 5 ponds in total, settling ponds they called them. Now you leave that for a while to settle, so the finer debris will be going to the bottom now. And after, say, an hour of settling, you would open the sluice and run it into the next pond, which is like the next bucket, gently, so we don't disturb the detritus off the bottom. You do that 5 times. So if you start it with 5 tons of clay, you'd end up with 1 ton of good clay at the end of it, roughly, through 5 processes. Right, that's a demonstration done. Now I have to get on with making enough clay to make the Palisa plate, so it's back to work.
The next morning, back in the workshop, Shaun is ready to start his plate.
OK, I've got the rubber animals and now we're going to make the moulds. So we'll start with this one. Right, the first process is kind of back to school to make an edging just to contain the plaster around the actual snake so we can take the mould for it. So just bear with me while I get this sorted. Make sure you press the hole down so we don't get any leaks at the last minute and running around panicking. Right, that's more or less it. It's ready for the plaster now. Okay, so I have to mix the plaster. It's always a messy process. Always best to use a hand. You can kind of feel the consistency. Right, we'll have to pour it now because it goes off rather rapidly, the plaster of Paris. I've got all the lumps out of it. Just give it a tap to get most of it. You can see the bubbles come to the surface now. Just getting the air out of it now, you see. Right, I'll fill the mould now. I think that's a pretty good guess. Right, we'll leave these to set for a while now. And flash off and we can get on with other jobs. Right. See, the mould is dry now, so we'll strip it first of all. Take the clay away. We can get at it. Right now. There's a snake embedded in the plaster. We'll have to kind of give that a bit of a bash. There we are. Right, the snake's out now, ready to go. So the first thing to do is to roll out the clay. Now we've got to press it in to get all the scale patterns and the detail. So just plonk it into the front end here, start to press. Now that's more or less, I think we've more or less got what we want there. Right, now I've got some catgut here. I'm going to trim this as a trimming wire, so I'll put it down onto the plaster, hold it as tightly as we can. Now we'll take this off and we can see the exact pattern of the snake. Right, now, got to get the snake out now. Watching the body snapping, it's all a bit fiddly. Looks flexible enough, but stiff enough. And the head is always a difficult part usually, but we'll see how he goes. I've got in I have to flip it over rather briskly. And there we have him. There's some work to do under the jawline here. There's a little work to do on his head. We've got to undercut it here, and especially on this side, it's a bit deep, because his head's going to be propped up till he dries, so it looks like he's on the hunt. Something like that.
Having made the snake, Shaun fast forwards through all the other animals on the plate. And by the end of the afternoon, he's ready to put his palisi together.
Right, this is the actual plates for the palisi, the blank as we'd call it. I pre-made this and I've made all the bits of snakes, the lizards and whatever to go on.
He starts by modelling the plate itself, putting in the island and the rushing stream that surrounds it.
I've made all kinds of ceramics from all periods, like Russian desk furniture from the Russian constructivists like the early 20th century, right back to Chinese stuff.
With the island and the stream finished, it's time to bring in the hungry snake. And then the unfortunate fish. Underneath, he's cut out the clay in the shape of the snake. A palisi trick that helps with the firing. The lizards go on the rim. And finally, a little gang of frogs is scattered about the riverbank. And the pretend palisi is ready for its first firing.
I just hope it doesn't explode in the kiln. That's all I can do with it now, and just hope. Close the kiln lid. Turn the safe handle in. Now it's firing.
Shaun's been at it for a couple of weeks now. And with the firing done, Janina comes up to Bolton to check the results.
Hey, Shaun.
Hi, Janina.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, this is it.
Look at this. Oh, you are clever. This is beautiful. I can't get over the detail. Look at the snake's face. It looks so lifelike. You've added another snake in as well.
Just eating a frog as well as his back sticking out of his mouth, so a little bit of amusement on it.
It's better than I could have imagined.
It's ready for glazing now, so Just to paint the glazes on, back in the kiln,
Yeah.
and that'll be it.
So the glaze will seal them all in as well?
Yes, these are the test firings I did. And what I am pleased with is that the large snake, the scale pattern, in the grey, I'll have a couple of white patches on the back of his head, and then the rest in grey, darker to the tail, lighter to the...
Oh, yeah, that's going to come up beautifully,
Shows the
isn't
scales
it?
up nicer, doesn't it?
Well, that's it, isn't it? You can see each individual scale. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, with the translucent glazes. And the turquoise, show you that one.
Oh, these are
This is for the water.
Again, it's got depth in it. It looks like water, the way that the glaze has run into the ridges.
Yes, yeah.
It's got water-like quality, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. That's quite Palissy-like as well.
It
the
is.
turquoise. And it's very roughly hewn as well. You can see thumbprints and... See the cutaway in the background. It's all very, I said, very rustic.
Yeah.
That's in his style, so I've tried to imitate the style. And you can listen, it's not cracked. Rings like a bell.
Fantastic.
So there's no fractures anywhere within it, so it's come out well. I'm pleased with it, actually.
I just can't wait to see it.
With just the glazing to do, Shaun is now ready for his final push.
Right, I've put the colouring oxides on, just as Palissy would, and now I've got to seal it with a top coat of clear glaze. It all looks rather slapdash and rough at the moment, but once the glazes are coloured and the colour develops in the glazes, you'll see that as it's meant to be. That's what's difficult about pottery. When you're painting with pottery, you've kind of got a better imagination than you have with painting, because the colours that you see being put onto the actual object are nothing like what they come out as. They're absolutely, completely transformed. So it does take a bigger imagination to be a good potter than to be a good painter, I think. The glazes I'm putting on are basically ground glass with other additives to stop them shrinking and cracking the glaze. This is an alkaline glaze, actually. Palissy would have used heavily leaded glazes, but they're so toxic that I'm not prepared to use them. I have used them in the past with fakes, and because it's very important with the fake that it is what it is. It has to be the materials, but with this being a demonstration, I'm using alkaline glazes, which aren't toxic at all. They're slightly less glassy and slightly less rich, but you can hardly tell the difference. Right. That's a finished plate, so I've got to put it into the kiln, but it's glazed on the back, so it doesn't stick to the shelf. I've got to prop it on these little stilts. They're just made out of the same clay and fired, and just stand on, and then they'll be broken off when we get it out of the kiln later, so standard practice. So we'll get it into the kiln now. Take the stilts first and put them in place. Kiln up. Palissy wouldn't have had a kiln like this. He'd have killed for a plate like this, I should imagine. Good kiln, but he had to work with what he had. It's quite a crucial... It is important they're just in the right spot, so I'll have to fiddle about a little bit to get these. This plate I've made is a little bit rounder than Palissy's. Palissy's were mainly a long oval, but I've made this to fit the kiln and get the biggest size out of the kiln that I can possibly get, so it's a little bit rounder than Palissy's, but it's all made in the same manner. Make sure it's quite secure. We don't want it moving in the actual firing. It's ready now. It's well balanced, so it's ready for putting on now. I'll shut the kiln and fire it. The next time we see it, it'll be transformed, hopefully. We'll get a good firing. There we have it.
A few days later, down in London, in the Wallace collection, Janina is waiting to see what's come out of Shaun's kiln once the firing has worked its magic. She knows it'll be different, but how different?
Really looking forward to seeing Shaun's version of a Palissy plate. Now, he seemed to think he could do it in a week, which I thought was being a little bit ambitious. It's a complicated thing to make, but just want to see how he's executed those animals, how he's come up with the glazes. Really can't wait. Shaun, you've brought me A police plate?
Yeah.
How has this one been to make?
The modelling was good, but the glazing had a bit of trouble with it.
Yeah, the glazing was always going to be tricky, wasn't it?
Yeah,
to try and get those combinations.
To match the colour, yeah, but the modelling is fairly good.
I'm intrigued about how long it ended up taking you, because there was talk of it being knocked up in a week.
Yeah. Well, that would be possible if I was just making the one item, but it took me about 3 weeks in the end.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
That's still very good, isn't it?
The only thing I'm not pleased with is the animals, because they're fake animals, so they're not quite as realistic. But we didn't want to kill anything just for a play, did we? So.
No animals harmed in the making of this
Absolutely.
plate.
That's a good slogan.
Yeah.
So, here we go.
Can't wait to see it. Oh, wow! That is magnificent. Oh my goodness. Just zings. Oh, I love the way you've done the water.
Yeah, that's more typical of Palissy than we see here. More turquoise, copper turquoise glaze.
Yeah. And how about the finish? So what sort of processes did you have to do to get
it's
that?
an alkaline glaze, whereas Palissy used lead, but they're very toxic. You can't really use them today.
Good point.
So it's an alkali glaze.
Yeah. I can't get over the realism of the creatures. That snake is fantastic.
I put that little snake just eating a frog, you can see back legs sticking out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I want to see the back as well. Oh, yes. So that was to help it with the firing?
Yes, it would have been too thick if it had been solid there, so it would have probably cracked along that line anyway, so I've to cut that away.
Yeah.
You see a little firing marks where we propped up on the
yes.
There's no foot ring, so you've got to prop them up and put your hand on them a bit sharp.
Ah, but that's what we were looking for in the originals as well, wasn't it? As evidence
you
of
don't
how
see
they
it
were
on the
glazed.
Victorian fakes because they used asbestos props.
Right.
And when they come away, they just leave a little dusty surface. So.
But in terms of the colours, I think you've got... I mean, that's a great collection, and I love this turquoise for the water.
That's more typical of Palissy rather than these. It's like a copper blue, so...
Yeah, slightly brighter palette all round, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they do vary, those dark ones, very light ones.
Well, I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's just so lovely to touch. The textures are amazing.
Yeah.
Shaun, it is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. But the trouble with this art business, there's always more to do.
Absolutely.
Let's get on and do some more.
Come on.
Back to work.
Went to college, studied art. To be an artist, make a start. Studied hard.
Shaun Greenhalgh was once a prolific forger. From ancient carvings to modern paintings, there was nothing he couldn't make.
A bit like putting in an old window.
But a spell in prison convinced him to renounce his past. So he's teamed up with Oxford historian Dr. Janina Ramirez
Oh my gosh!
to rediscover the secrets of the ancients and to try to match their skills. As for me, I'm Waldemar Januszczak, and my job is to keep tabs on them. Janina and Shaun have come to London, to one of the world's great collections of decorative arts, the Victoria and Albert Museum. There's lots to see here,
And there's David.
but Janina has brought Shaun to the V&A for a particular reason.
Space here. We're in the Islamic galleries.
She wants to show him something that will take his breath away.
I want to show you these, Shaun.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fatimid rock crystals.
Exactly, Fatimid rock crystals. So this is about 1,000 years old, and yet it's intact. It is made of rock crystal. Now, just the most difficult medium to work with, as I understand. Have you
Yes.
worked with rock crystal before?
I have
Yeah.
worked with it. It's not too bad to shape, but the polishing and the finishing of it is really difficult.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So,
To bring it to a glass shine, it's a very laborious process.
and what about getting hold of a lump of crystal like
Well,
this?
you'd be hard pushed to get a piece that size anywhere in the world today. That would be very difficult. Rock crystal's common material, but it's always full of fractures, almost always. And these rare pieces that the Fatimids use, they're what they call water clear. As you can see, they're water clear.
Absolutely.
There's no cracks or fractures in them at all. They look like they're made of glass.
They do.
And modern glass as well, with the clarity of it.
exactly something that we take for granted now, that we can see
absolutely.
a clear material like that.
Must have been a wonder to them.
Absolutely. So we've got one of the finest pieces here in the ewer.
Yeah.
But how long do you think that would take to make?
2 years. Maybe with a team of people making it, and you'll get a lot of failures as well.
Really?
Get into the finer parts, the handling places.
So you couldn't do that?
No, that would be... I couldn't source the quartz, let alone make it in the time, no.
What about this little one here?
Well, that's close to what we could do. Maybe even a little bit smaller than that one is actually there, because like I said, to get the water clear rock crystal today, it's very difficult.
What would you do once you've got a good obelisk of the crystal? What's your first thing that you'd have to
Well,
think
the first
about?
thing to do is to cut it into shape, put on the decoration, and then polish it, which is forever.
Really?
Polishing to get the glass clear that you see on it there is labour intensive. It's just time and time and time.
Oh.
But the actual shaping is relatively simple.
This looks like a really tricky thing to make.
This will be a big challenge to make one of these.
Well, I don't want to put you to all this polishing, but I want to see if you can do the challenge of making me something like that rock crystal Islamic vial.
I'll give it my best shot. That's all I can say.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
So am I. Be able to have a rest when I finished it.
Yeah. Stop polishing.
Yes.
What do you use to polish?
Can't run them initially.
Back in Oxford, Dr. Janina Ramirez has been finding out all she can about the Fatimids.
The Fatimids were an Islamic dynasty that ruled for about 2 centuries, from the 10th century to the 12th century, and governed a huge area of the world, from over here in Persia, through Arabia and Egypt and Northern Africa. And in the 10th century, they made Cairo their capital. What's interesting about the Fatimids is they claim descent from the Prophet Muhammad's daughter, Fatima. Yet, because of the expanse of their empire, they were very religiously tolerant. They encountered people of all different religions across this expanse. And instead of just suppressing them or killing them, they incorporated some of their ideas in their art. And Old Cairo in particular becomes a hub of creativity. There are all sorts of workshops for pottery, textiles, metalworking. But really, the big thing that they're known for is their use of rock crystal. Now, rock crystal has very distinctive properties. Today, we tend to think of clear glass, being able to look through a medium like this, as something that we just take for granted. But back in the 10th century, rock crystal was pretty much the only mineral that would give you complete translucency. And there's a religious aspect to rock crystal too, because the Quran states that in paradise, they can drink from rock crystal vessels. And it's also a sign of the purity that you can expect in paradise after death.
For Shaun Greenhalgh, paradise is the converted mill in Bolton, where he has his workshop. He's been losing sleep on the rock crystal challenge, but he's finally decided what to do.
Decided to do a Fatimid rock crystal bottle that was sold at the V&A, so I'm just putting a design in for it now. I can't really do anything large like the yours, it would just take too long to do that, so these are the kind of things it would have probably perfume in. A simple little thing, plain geometric decoration and a scroll pattern, a vine scroll pattern around the centre. I've used rock crystal before, I've used it for various things, reliquaries in the main, like not the Fatimid, I've only made one Fatimid small bottle like this. I had about 3 goes at it, finally made it and turned it into a medieval reliquary, put some rag in it and a bit of, supposedly the blood of Christ, which was cinnabar, ground cinnabar and water. I had a heck of a time to get the shine onto it. I'm hoping that things will go better this time, but we'll see. Putting a bit of a wash in the background just to bring the drawing out from the background, kind of. It's not really necessary, but it just get it in your mind's eye of what you actually have to achieve. And then that'll be done.
With a design done, Shaun's next task is to find himself some rock crystal.
I'll have to scroll through to see what they've got.
The Fatimids got theirs in Madagascar. Shaun gets his online.
Oh, that looks possible. I'll have a look at it enlarged. No, we'll have that.
A couple of days later, the postman delivers his parcel.
Have a look at this crystal now. We'll have to see what we have. Ah, there we are. Beautiful crystals, almost flawless. Most of that will cut out actually. I'm really pleased with it.
All he has to do now is to come up with a contraption that can hollow the crystal.
You can't buy these, so you have to design them yourself and make them yourself. So I'll start with this one first, where we actually drill the core out to get the actual hollow in the vessel.
To build his homemade crystal drill, Shaun's going to need some plywood. So he pops upstairs to see his friend, Jed the carpenter.
Hey, Shaun. Hi, Jed.
All right.
Yeah, OK.
Yeah, come in.
OK. Hello, dog. How are you doing? What I'm looking for is a piece of plywood.
Yeah.
About 1/2 inch or just some bit less than that.
What sort of size? This size?
Yeah, about 15 by 10, something like 12, something of that nature.
What about that? That do you?
Oh, yeah, that's great. That looks ideal. Thank you. What do I owe you?
Nothing, you're all right.
Oh, no cheers, problem. Man. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very generous of you.
Knocking up the drilling gizmo doesn't take long. A bit of sawing, a bit of drilling, and the plywood crystal shaper is ready for action.
There we have it. I've made this little jig now and finished it. This will hold the crystal in place for core drilling. That's like to put a hollow in the crystal to hold whatever scented oils or perfumes it was used for. Now I'm using an electric drill and a diamond core bit. Now the ancients, the Fatimids, would have used something familiar down the ages, a bow drill just made out of a piece of willow, the string. We'll take this for the drill bit. We'll load the drill bit. There we go. Now we've got it in now. Now you have to start a hole. You've got your starter hole. Hold it steady. It's difficult to get going in the beginning, but persevere, we'll get there. There'll probably be someone else pressing down on the actual drill bit to get pressure. So as you can see, I'm not going to use one of those to drill it, so we'll leave that aside and get on with the real thing. Now this is a diamond core drill for drilling hard stone. You can see it's hollow through. There's a diamond centred around there. The reason it's a hollow for drilling stone is that you want to take out as little material as you can so there's least resistance, so a cylinder will go down much more quickly than a solid drill. You're taking less out, so you're using less. Bring it into position. Very slowly at the first, just to make a score mark on it.
While Shaun in Bolton begins drilling his fragile rock crystal, Janina has come to sunny Yorkshire, to the only crystal mine in Britain.
Hi!
Hi, Janina. Welcome to Rogerley.
Lovely.
She wants to see how crystal is found in its natural form. And Vitek, the mine manager, is happy to show her.
Go to the right of the wagon there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was the original flat line
Yeah,
here?
yes, it was just here.
Yeah. God, it's really sludgy underfoot. Ooh, this is explorer territory. I love this. So these tracks presumably are to cart out what you're digging at the ends?
Yes, yeah.
And have you been finding the crystals all the way down?
Most of the way down, yeah.
You can see even now as we walk past, the walls are sparkling. But not all of it rock crystal, is it?
No, it's totally random product. So sometimes you hit nothing and then you have to keep turning the ground over to find more crystals.
Wow. So you're like a little mole, you
Yes,
like to get into the tunnels.
To get there as fast as possible. Yeah, hit the targets.
But I suppose the idea that human eyes haven't seen these
Never.
things.
No, never. You're the first one ever to see this.
God, that's amazing. Is that all crystal then?
A lot of it is, yeah.
Gosh, it glimmers in the light. Look at that. Oh my. I mean, they're just beautiful to me. They're like natural works of art. I'd absolutely love to see them coming out of the ground.
Yeah, and it's actually a skillful job to extract these crystals. So we employ Michael Wood, who's a professional collector, to collect for us.
Oh, can Mike get some out for us now?
Yeah. Mike, can you come in and just pull out a piece for us?
Oh, how exciting. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Janina.
You gonna do... Which one are you gonna go for?
Oh, that one up there looks like that's like
Oh, yes, please. All right, go on. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Right. Okay. This looks like a good bit.
Golly. Well done, Mike. You've got a big chunk there.
That's not bad.
That's fantastic. Gosh, look. For me, this is nature's art.
Yes. Yeah.
And for you?
For me, it's about turning the money over and continuing with the project.
All about the money.
Yes, well, yeah.
Ooh, a bit wobbly.
Janina in Yorkshire may be happy, but in Bolton, Shaun isn't.
I was working on the crystal, started to core drill it, and I saw a fracture in the side of the stone start to run, getting worse and worse. I thought I could get away with it, but it just came away about 1/4 done. And I've had a few accidents in the past. I've not worked a great deal with it, but it's very, very unpredictable. You probably get 1 out of 10. I should think the Fatimids will get roughly the same. So I'm going to have to get a new crystal, start all over again and have another go, and hopefully this time we'll get it out.
With the crystal in pieces, Shaun has to start searching again.
This is Gemcraft's website.
So he opens up his contacts book, and a couple of days later, the postman brings a new one.
This crystal has a bit more colour in it than the old one, but it should be quite suitable. It's more, look a bit broader so we can get a better core out of it, probably without it fracturing. So we'll have a go at that one now. Positions everything, it has to be dead centred. I'm going to have to put the water in a little reservoir first of all, because if the core drill burns dry, it'll burn the diamonds off of it. So it all has to be done underwater all of the time.
Here we go.
While Shaun drills away perilously on the new crystal, Janina arrives in Bolton for a swift visit.
Hi, Shaun. How are you? Good to see you. I'm so excited to be in here with you.
Yes, we're getting on with the crystal now.
Wow. Oh, gosh.
Core drilling it, I'll just drink so I can show you.
Yeah. Oh, it's looking
We're
fabulous.
about 2/3 of the way down.
Oh, it's a beautiful bit of crystal, isn't it?
It is,
Lovely
yeah.
and clear.
Pretty flawless, yes. 1 or 2 cloudy areas, but I think we'll cut those out as we work on it, so.
Wow.
The bad news is, though, I broke the first crystal, so this is the second one.
Wow.
I'll go and get it for you and show you.
Oh, dear. But somewhat inevitable. These things are very fragile,
These
aren't
things
they?
happen, yeah. I mean, I'm sure that the Fatimids had their own problems as we have with it. So.
Oh. When did this happen then? Just when you were starting?
You can see there's the core.
No.
But Thankfully, we hadn't got too far, so we've not wasted too much time. If you look at the depth we have in this one now...
Yeah, you're already deeper, aren't you?
Much deeper, yes.
Oh.
It was just a flaw in the stone, and it happens. You can see
Oh, I see.
the vertical one there, that's a flaw.
And that's a natural flaw in the stone?
Yeah, these just cloud, but that is definitely a flaw. You see, it's slightly different colour. It's more grey than white.
Oh, my
So
goodness.
that would probably have gone anyway, so...
But it just goes to show, doesn't it, that the sourcing of the material is so important.
Yes,
and then
yes.
there must have been damages surviving.
Yeah, I would imagine 1 in 10 they would get out.
Oh, Shaun, I hope this one doesn't go.
I know.
We need this one to get to the end.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I'm going to let you get on.
OK.
OK. Look at these great pictures.
With the drilling taking several eternities at once, Shaun needs to think ahead. So he pops upstairs to see Jed the carpenter.
Hi, Jed.
Hi, Shaun. You all
Got
right?
this thing I'm making. I wonder if you could help me
yeah.
out. It's this Islamic bottle.
Very nice.
Rock crystal.
Right, OK.
This is the actual dimensions.
Right.
So I'm looking for a little box. Would that be possible?
Certainly, yeah. What, sort of like something like that shape?
Yeah, well, that's actual size. It's going to be cut off at about here. So it's going to be about 7.5 centimetres.
All right, OK.
By about 3.5 centimetres diameter. So
Yeah. I've got some different veneers. You could do like a veneered box. If
Really? Yeah,
that'd
that'd be.
We've got some different materials if you want to have a look through them.
Yeah.
There's some... that's bird's eye maple. That's a burr poplar.
Burr poplar?
Yeah, see what we got.
And what do we have here?
That's a bit of yew. That's really nice, that, but we've not got much of it, unfortunately.
I think this burr poplar is beautiful one, isn't it?
Right, OK, yeah.
Is it possible to have it veneered in that?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Good enough, yeah.
Well, I could probably do it for you for next week.
Next week?
If that's...
Wow, brilliant. Right, I'll bugger off and leave you in peace.
OK.
OK.
See ya.
See you later.
A week later, a concerned Janina is back in Bolton, checking up on Shaun's progress.
So, Shaun, how are you getting on with the rock crystal?
Well, I've core drilled it, Janina.
Yeah.
It's like taking the middle out of it. And now we've got to profile it, we've got to shape it on the outside, in effect, to get it, first of all, into a cylinder, just the basic shape of the bottle before we can start decorating. So that's what we're working on now.
So good that you've got the core out. It's hollow now. That was where it got a bit scary last time.
It went wrong last time, yeah. So, so now we've mounted it horizontally, so we can spin it against the rotating blade to form a cylinder. You can see it's cut to a cylinder there. No.
Grief. And that's going to happen right the way across.
Yeah.
What's going on with this blade? Is it a special type?
Diamond sinter blade. It's just a type for cutting tiles in bathroom tiles. We modify it.
I mean, this is the thing, coming up with this sort of engineering, Shaun. You're not just having to think about the art object, how it's made, putting all this...
That's the part I really like about making these things, coming up with all the Heath Robinson inventions to get them made.
Yeah, you're Mr. Leonardo. And are you confident that this one's going to hold together?
Yes, I think so. There's a small flaw in it, you can see there.
Oh, yes, I can see it.
But it's a flaw running out of the stone rather than into the stone.
Oh, yes.
So if it runs, it'll run to the surface and it'll be cut away.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed, absolutely.
My goodness, this is the one that makes me really anxious, I have to say.
Me too. It's a difficult thing to make.
OK, well, I'm scared because I know this is going to be noisy, messy and potentially disastrous.
Yes.
But I think you'd better carry on.
We'll get on with it then. Splashes a bit when we first fire it up.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's just a mist of water, so we can get on with that now. Right, you can see the spray, but I've got to keep it cool because the blade has to be kept cold. So otherwise we'll get a fracture in the stone and wear the diamond off the blade.
So it's very important to have that water running
it's
around
absolutely
it.
crucial.
After another eternity of relentless slicing, Shaun still hasn't finished, but he's got somewhere at last.
Take it off the dough carefully. Right, that's the bottle shaped. It's been really hard work, 3 full weeks solid. all full of anxiety if we're going to get another break in the crystal. But luckily it's turned out okay. So now I have to put the scroll pattern in along the band here and the pattern around the broad band here. The rest of it will be polished clear and plain. So that's just about all I can do on it now. The decoration will probably take 2-3 weeks probably, and then another fortnight to polish till we get it to water clear. So that's 5 weeks from now to finish such a tiny thing, so I'll have to be getting on with it. Right, so we're going to have to cut the chevrons first. So now we have to draw the design onto here, the vine leaf scroll. Right, I finished the drawing now, so we need to get on with the cutting. I need the magnifier and the glasses. There we have it. Jed, you there?
Hiya, Sean. You all right?
Is the box ready?
It is indeed, yeah. Got it here for you.
Great stuff.
All right for you.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful piece of wood. It's the bar poplar, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah.
It's come up lovely.
Yeah,
I like that.
Hopefully that gives you a bit of room.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. When
Got it inside its...
Yeah, when it's wrapped in a... Oh, that's brilliant. Right, so, big question. How much?
Yeah, 100 quid to you.
100, that's a bargain. That's great. We've got 100 quid. Well spent. Thanks. A bit my hand off there. Okay. All right. Okay, Jed.
No
Thanks
problem.
very much. Thank you.
See you.
There's one job left on the rock crystal bottle, but it's the one Shaun dreads. With rock crystal, everything's difficult, but polishing it is the hardest task of all.
Right, we've finished the cutting of the design. Right, and now I'm getting on with the polishing. That is the most difficult part. As a lot of sculptures too, like Michelangelo's marbles, the actual cutting of them was the hard part, but the long, laborious part was the polishing. It just takes forever, and that's why these Islamic things are so valuable, because of the actual amount of labour that goes into them. That's why they're so rare. So we'll make a start and stop talking. Just gently push it on, and be very careful. See if we've got it centred now. No, so strip it. Now it's centred. Yeah, the Islamic people would do this more or less in the exact same way. Obviously, they wouldn't have electricity and sandpaper, but the grits they would use would be quite similar to get the same effect. They'd probably just use it in a slurry, probably with a piece of goatskin as a backing, and they would use it that way. So this would be familiar to them. If they saw this, they would understand what was going on. They'd probably end in my electric drill, I can imagine. My ambition is to have it absolutely water clear. As clear as looking through that window there. It will be when it's finally done with the 7,000 grit, so that's what we're aiming for. We'll get there eventually. I'll see you in a month's time.
But just remember, if you ever try this at home, wear some goggles. A month later, back at the V&A, Shaun has arranged to meet Janina in the Islamic rooms.
Hey, Shaun.
Hello.
In that little box is what we're here for. I am
Yep.
so excited to see this. How much work have you put into this?
A lot, and it hasn't come out quite as we thought.
Oh my
There we are.
goodness. It's fantastic. I mean, just to know that that's made out of a single piece of rock crystal. But you've had some
We have a
issues
bit
with
of
the
cloud.
crystal.
Yeah, it's a poor quality, but it's nothing I can do about it. And it's a shame, really, because this is the thinnest part, and it would have been the most blingy if it hadn't have had the flaws in it. But it's difficult to get the stuff. I don't know where they got this from. Probably high altitude Tibet, they reckon, but
Really?
you just can't get it today.
Isn't that incredible? So, you know, the sourcing of the materials is absolutely central to how these artefacts were made.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we can't source them now with the internet.
I know.
How did they get this then?
No idea.
It's amazing.
But if you look at the bottom end, it's water clear.
Yeah, absolutely
Here, this area.
clear. I can see completely.
I've taken the vine scroll off of it, ground it back, because there wasn't time to polish it, so I decided to take it off and do intaglio and gild it, which is known in Fatimid art.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've gilded the actual inscription. It's Salam.
Salam.
Yeah, in 4 directions, north, south, east and west.
Oh, aren't you clever?
And a blank panel for contemplation.
Wow.
Which is Islamic, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I didn't keep a record of hours. Just so many of them.
Just kept going.
I didn't want to know. Yeah, just kept going. Yeah.
And you had to obviously work with a higher grade and then come down to really fine grain.
Start with 180 grades. 180, 240,
Okay.
400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 and 7,000. Each one will take probably 3 days.
Good.
You're just kind of removing one set of scratches with another and another, finer and finer and finer until you get it.
I can't believe what you've achieved in the time. I think it's absolutely stunning. And I mean, this is the one that I thought was going to crack, going to break, going to go wrong.
Well, it did at the first attempt. Yeah. And that was a better piece of crystal, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's the way it goes.
Well, the problem with this business is there's always another problem around the corner, isn't there?
Absolutely.
We better get on and address the next one.
Went to college, studied art. To be an artist, make a start. Studied hard, gained my degree. No one seemed to notice me.